Hello there and welcome to another episode of Cutting Through the Bullshit. I am your host, Dr. Stephanie Snyder, and I am a high performance mentor. Through my unique blend of strategy, mindset, and intuition, I help men and women to cut through the BS in order to create the life and business they desire. Well, I am high vibing. Oh my goodness, my husband just pulled out a chainsaw. Dang it. I did tell him to... Okay, I didn't know he was going to cut down a tree today. I guess this is happening. All right. Well, nevertheless, here we are live and ready to go. So, as you know, I read a lot of books. Oh, he's not cutting down a tree. Sorry, totally distracted. All right. So, as you know, I read a lot of books. I love reading personal development books because I always love a different perspective, because I believe that a different perspective is all we need to have in order to create the life that we want. We're just one perspective away from that, right? And so I was on a run the other day, and we're going to dive into the book in a second, a little bit of a rabbit trail here. So I was on a run the other day, and there's the phrase in my house called do better, right? I know I've talked about this before, and if this is a repeat, I apologize, but we're going to talk about it. And as I was on the run, I was like, you know what? Like, do better, right? But how do you do better? And this incredible little phrase that I need to trademark, copyright, whatever, came through, and it was, in order to do better, you have to be better. And in order to be better, you have to know better. And in order to know better, you have to be willing to be wrong. And I thought, oh shit, that's good, right? Because it is our desire to prove, I don't even want to call it desire. We want to be right. Whether it is for us or against us, I guess, regardless of the belief, right? So if we believe that we are going to fail, we would rather be right than to be wrong. Because then we can go, see, I knew it wasn't going to work. And we'd rather be right, saying it's not going to work, than to be wrong and go, you know what? What if it does work? And our desire to be right overrides our desire to be wrong and actually learn something new and to know more and to be better and to do better. And so it's kind of, it's not really a catch-22, it's a willingness to be wrong. Are you willing to be wrong? Are you willing to see something different? And this is what I talk about a lot when I share about all these little mini experiments that I do, right? I do a mini experiment on myself regularly because I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'm wrong about this. Maybe it actually doesn't work that way. It actually works this way instead. Or why am I so convinced that it has to work that way? Why can't it be this way? And so it's my willingness to be wrong that actually allows me to have a very fulfilling life, because I'm like, you know what? That doesn't seem right to me. Maybe I'm looking at this wrong. Maybe there's a different perspective for this. And it's the different perspective that, again, allows me to have a very fulfilling life. So, you got that little soapbox. Now we're going to go back to the book. Okay, so I was reading this book called The Gap and the Gain by Dr. Benjamin Hardy. I've read several of his books in the last couple of weeks, and The Gap and the Gain I absolutely love. I'm obsessed with it. Excellent book. And it's about how we measure ourselves. And if you've listened to any of the podcast episodes where I've talked about your metrics of success, like how are you measuring yourself? This is part of what that book is about. And I've talked about this prior to reading that book, but I just love how it was packaged in the book itself. So when it comes to our metrics for success, if we are not feeling successful, then we have to change those metrics, because the truth is we are often measuring ourselves against this ideal, this perfect version of ourselves in which all of the things are right and we're great at everything all of the time. And we often compare ourselves to that ideal, which, by the way, we don't even know if it exists. We have no proof or example of that actual ideal, right? And so when we measure ourselves against this ideal, we often put ourselves in what Benjamin Hardy refers to as the gap, where you think of all of the stuff that you have to do in order to get there. And that's exhausting, and it's frustrating, and it's defeating, because the truth is that impossible standard is actually impossible, because it's based off of perfection, and it's going to just wear you down and make you feel defeated all of the time. All the time. Because you're like, I should be here. Based off of what? An ideal that you can't even label? Okay. Right? So let's rein that in a little bit. So he talks about a lot in this book about always measuring backwards. And I love this so much. This was part of the reason where a previous episode I talked about always celebrating yourself. You always have something to celebrate because look at how far you've come. And so instead of saying, hey, I'm not at that ideal yet, and I'm in this gap of things, right? Like there's still all this stuff that I have to do, right? That was part of my motherhood journey, was like, I was comparing myself to this Pinterest perfect mom who, did all of the things. Like she, was organic everything, and she made all the birthday cakes and all this other stuff. And like, I was constantly in the gap and totally burnt myself out in motherhood. I was like, I can't do that anymore. And so I actually started to shift on my own years before this book even came out, and started to create my own metrics for success because I wanted to feel successful. So I had to figure out what was making me feel successful. How was I measuring that? And so I measured it differently. And some days when my kids were young, it was that we were all alive. Right? We had not gone to the ER that day. Everybody was fed. That was a successful day for me, right? And so part of this, though, was measuring backwards, right? So like, and he walks you through this in the book where he talks about, okay, where are you right now? Cool. Let's look back and say, where were you 10 years ago? You're not even the same person. And 5 years ago, and 3 years ago, and a year ago, and 3 months ago, like in the last 90 days. Look at all of the things that have shifted and changed for the better in the last 90 days. And just walking through that exercise, I'm going to be honest with you. Initially, I started to really beat myself up because I was like, I haven't gained anything in the last 90 days. I don't know what the heck you're talking about, right? But like, I had to look at it and go, oh, actually, yeah, like I learned a bunch of things in the last 90 days. I have quite a few things to actually celebrate in the last 90 days. And when you can see how far you've come, it's much easier for you to be motivated to keep going. Because you're like, well, shoot, look at all the things I've already done. Look at where I am. Look at all that I have to celebrate, all the things that I can be grateful for. And that is what he calls living in the gain. Where you're like, oh, well, I'm gaining more every day, right? And so part of that book he recommends, and I've started to do this myself, is at the end of every night or before you go to bed, write down 3 wins from the day and write down your 3 wins for the next day, right? Like, what are the 3 things that you're excited to do the next day, right? And I really love that because it causes me to stop and go, you know what, Steph, this was actually a good day, instead of the shitstorm that maybe you thought it was. Right? Like there were actually some good moments in this day where you're like, oh yeah, that was good. I'm actually doing well as a mom. I'm doing good as a business owner. You know what, Steph? Like you're doing good, right? And it's just this nice little pat on the back for yourself, because as long as you continue to chase external validation, you will never be fulfilled. Ever. I was actually just having a conversation the other day with one of my athletes. So I was a runner in high school and college, and I have some athletes that I train, track athletes that I train. We do a lot of mindset work, but we also do some of the workouts as well. And so I was talking to her about it the other day. Let me grab my thoughts here because I want to make sure that it's looped together. So I totally just lost it. It's gone. Absolutely gone. No idea. Wow, that's kind of annoying. I was on a good track there. Okay, well, it was along the lines of the fact that, oh, here it was. Okay, so I remember being a sophomore in high school, and I had this coach, Coach Wallace, and he was kind of a rugged looking man, skinny, but had like the beard and like mountaineery, which worked really well because our high school mascot was a mountaineer. And I remember an indoor track race. I was running the 2 mile, I believe. It really doesn't matter what race. No, it was the 1 mile. And during this race, he was standing by the finish line. And every time I crossed, because on an indoor track, it's several laps, not just 4, right? And every time I ran by him, he would yell something at me. And it caused me to pick up the pace. And I actually ran one of my fastest races that day. And I was like, yes, this was awesome. Like, thanks, coach, all the things, right? The next week, we have a track meet again. And same race. Stands in the same spot. He says nothing to me on this race. Doesn't even say a word. Doesn't even acknowledge the fact that I'm in this race. And I'm like looking for him. Like, I see you there. Why aren't you saying anything to me? And at the end of the race, I didn't run as fast as I had the week before. And at the end of the race, I walked up to him and I said, Coach, why didn't you say anything to me today? Like, it really helped me last week. And he looked at me and he said, I will not always be here. You've got to figure out how to cheer yourself on. I can't just stand on the sidelines and yell for you. You've got to do it yourself. And I thought, oh shit. Right? Like, I did so well with you yelling at me. And I have this conversation with my kids and with my athletes. Like, yeah, I could stand on the sideline and scream at you. For sure. But if you cannot coach yourself into it, you're going to be constantly chasing somebody else to cheer you on, to validate you, to whatever it is. You've got to be your own greatest cheerleader. And that's part of that book from Dr. Benjamin Hardy, right? Like, you've got to come in, you've got to tune into yourself and say, you know what do I really need right now? How can I shift my focus? How can I coach myself to do better in this situation? And it can feel scary because you're like, well, shoot, I don't even know what to say to myself. You do. If you give yourself a minute, you'll be like, oh yeah, Steph, actually, you do need a pat on the back. Or maybe you need a hug, right? Yes, it's easier when you can hug another person, right? But maybe you need a hug. Maybe you need, a minute to yourself. Maybe you need to play a board game or cards or something, right? Like, tuning in. And also a willingness to be wrong. If you are willing to be wrong about any or all of the unconscious, subconscious beliefs that you hold, your entire life can change for the better. But as long as you are digging your heels in and saying, no, this is the way, you're going to be stuck in a rat race, on a hamster wheel, doing the same thing and expecting different results. If you want to do better, you have to be better. And to be better, you have to know better. And to know better, you have to be willing to be wrong. So, I'm sending you so much love. Check out that book if you haven't already. It is a great book. Really, really good. And I do challenge you to move through the exercises in that book as well. And if you have not yet, check out Motherhood Manifesto. That program starts a week from this being aired, so September 22nd, we will start that week. There will be some daily journal questions you can meditate on, write about, all the things, journal on, right? Because they're journal exercises. There'll also be a weekly live in the Facebook group where I will be covering a specific topic and also doing some live coaching. I don't know if I'm going to do it in a Facebook Live or if I'm going to run it as a Zoom link. I kind of want to do it as a Zoom link because that way, if you're in the group and you're asking a question, you can actually come on video and ask the question. So it will probably be a Zoom link that I'll later share to the Facebook group. But that is going to be an incredible program. That is just, it is the purpose. It is the purpose. From survival to soul-led motherhood. Motherhood Manifesto. If you're interested in that program, the link will be in the show notes, or you can DM me, find me on Instagram. And I'll be happy to have a conversation with you. Yes, both of the things. And I hope that you have an amazing rest of your day. And as always, be you, because the world needs more of you. Bye.